Welcome back to hour number 2 of NHL Live. Don LaGreca and E.J. Raddick taking up until 2 o'clock Eastern Time, and it's a pleasure in studio to welcome in the general manager of the Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins. He's Ray Shero. Ray, it's Don LaGreca and E.J. Raddick. Welcome.
Thank you. First time here. Thank you.
What do you think of the NHL? You've not been in the store yet?
I've been to the store once, and actually we'll browse through it again and probably pick something up. But it was fantastic. It looks great. So pleasure to be here.
Well, listen, if you want some pie,
I see that.
Greg was baking some pecan pie. Feel free. I mean, I decided to shy away, but don't let me stop you.
You're missing half a pie there, though.
Well, Don got here early today.
Don't even start. I didn't even touch it. And we get you a nice discount, too, so if you want anything, talk to Greg Balding or get half price.
All right.
Deserve it.
I'm
you
in.
deserve at least. Stanley Cup champions.
I'm in.
You got a couple of kids, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Give a little plug, a shout-out for your kids here.
Kyle and Chris, absolutely. 11 and 14 years old, big hockey players. They love to play. And, so I saw a couple things down there. And Winter Classic things, I didn't know they were out. And actually, we're looking to get to the Winter Classic this year if we can. So take the kids, and they were there, obviously, when we played in Buffalo. So they had a great time, want to go back, so looking forward to it.
You went through that experience of being in the Winter Classic. I mean, looking back on it now, what are your memories of it?
It was absolutely fantastic. One of the highlights of my career. And, it was funny, though, EJ, that up until that day, we had so many games packed in, it really wasn't on our radar that much until we got there for practice the day before the game, and we went out for, I think it was a 2 o'clock practice, and came through the tunnel and saw Buffalo on the ice, and there were some snow flurries, and that's when it kind of hit us that, wow, this is pretty cool. And we just had such a great time for a couple of days, and the game was, we won the game, which was fantastic, but in the shootout, but it snowed during the game, and our kids had a great time, and the players, I think it was just a wonderful experience.
It really set the standard for what everybody expects the Winter Classic to be now, and I think now that college football has gotten away from the January 1 significant bowl games, I think that the NHL continues with the momentum. We could be maybe a decade away from people thinking about hockey first on January 1st than football.
Yeah, it's really, the ratings have been great. And as we know, and, with the Buffalo thing, I didn't know what the expectations were going to be. And then last year, obviously, at Wrigley Field, and this year at Fenway Park. And the momentum seems to have carried over, and the teams are excited to be doing it. And I know the Flyers are trying to get us to play at Penn State, which would be fantastic. And, we'd love to do it again at some point, but certainly some other teams have to get in there, and I think they're going to have a great experience.
Yeah, well, you mentioned they won the shootout that day. I think a fellow by the name of Crosby was the guy who won that shootout for you, and he had a big night the other night. And, it's funny because Sidney had that stretch, Ray, of 5 games where he didn't have a point. So everybody right away, Sidney Crosby, what's happening? And there's a worry. And now, the last 8 or 9 games, I think he's got like 13 or 14 points, and he had the 5-point night the other night. It just seems like to me when I watch him, he helps your team so many ways other than just scoring points. I mean, is that the right perception of what happens with Sidney?
Yeah, he's a great defensive player, and he's become our go-to guy in face-offs. He's one of the better guys in the league now.
Yeah, he's like in the top 10 now, right?
Oh, yeah, he's and when he really needs to win them, he seems to win them, and he's really strong on the stick. But that's part of his game that he's really worked on since he came to the league as a rookie. He wasn't very strong on face-offs, and that's something he wanted to get better at. And he wanted to be a go-to guy. Now he's killing penalties, and he's he brings so much more to the table, which we're very fortunate. And Gino's the same way that they contribute. And we were talking about this other day on Gino, just the way his physical game the last couple of years has really stepped up. And so they both play both ends. We're really fortunate and have those two guys.
You've suffered through a lot of injuries. We were just talking off the air that you said Goligoski, hurt again after coming back, and Letang just came back over the weekend. Do you have a theory on why the league has suffered through so many injuries?
Oh, boy, everybody's got a theory, I think, and I wish we could do something about it because there's so many good players out of the lineup around the league. And, whether it's, everybody's shooting harder, everybody's bigger, strong, we know that. The money these guys make is so much now. I mean, the minimum salary is $500,000, and everybody's fighting every game for their space, and everybody's finishing their checks because, let's be honest, they want to cash their checks, and these guys make so much money, and they want to stay in the league, and they do what they have to do to stay. And so it's a very physical game now when you play lots of games, and I don't know, there's a combination of factors, and I hope we can obviously improve on some of these injuries and continue to look at it.
Give us the update on some of the other guys, because you've had a number of guys out. I mean, your whole defensive core was out of the lineup for a while, or seemingly was out of the lineup. How did you got the Rangers tonight? How's it looking?
Jay McKee will go back in the lineup tonight. He's back in. Goligoski is out again. Not long term, though, fortunately. And Chris Kunitz is still out up front. And, of course, Matt Cook is suspended for a couple games. But we had 4 or 5 defensemen out at one point. But, actually I thought that was great news for us. Not the injury so much, but have guys like Ben Lovejoy and Derek Anglin and Nate Gannon come up from Wilkes-Barre and do a real good job for us. And helped us get points, and you find out about these guys that they can probably play in the league, which is great moving forward. So I've been very fortunate that Wilkes-Barre's done a great job for us.
Marc-Andre Fleury celebrated his 25th birthday on Saturday, picking up a victory. And where does he stand for you? Is he exactly what you thought he was going to be? And is the sky the limit for this guy considering his age?
Yeah, he's when I first got to Pittsburgh, he was kind of up and down, but it's one of those things that my first year, 06, 07, he won 40 games, and that's what he does. And he's certainly a go-to goaltender. He's become a money goaltender, and as we say, he wins big games. And from our standpoint, he's the guy we want to net in a big game, and that's a great compliment to give a goaltender. I do believe he's going to get better, and the good thing with him, he's a wonderful kid, and he wants to play well for his teammates. His teammates want to play well for him because they like him, and he certainly makes, as Dan Bylsma just walked in, he certainly makes our job a lot easier. So the way he plays the game, so he's been great.
We got a soggy Dan Bylsma who just walked in. It's raining outside, and obviously not with umbrella today. Dan, step in for a minute here. How are you?
I'm great. Soggy, but great.
Good. Well, you know what? This is perfect because today, Don was on. We were talking about your game against the Rangers the other day. I'm going to put Don on the spot. He wanted to know why you had your big horses out there late in the game against the Rangers. 8-3. You had the power play. Crosby and Malkin are out there. I said, we got to ask Dan. He's the guy who would know, and here you are. So let's hear it.
I'm assuming we're referencing the 7-minute power play.
Yes, late in the game. Last minute, you're up 8-3. Don's question, he was saying he had 2 thoughts. That A, is it a rub-it-in situation, which I like personally, and B, is it you worry guys getting hurt late in the game? So, take it away from there.
Well, 7 minutes is a long time to not put guys on the ice. And if you've ever coached an elite player who's looking to get more points and want to have a good night, to keep them on the bench that long, you're going to get some eyes staring back at you. If you watch the game, we went with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, who were on our first power play with Eric Goddard, who doesn't get a lot of points, who doesn't get a lot of the extra time. There was a chance for him to maybe get a goal, and if you watch the power play, they were trying to get him a goal. Yeah. But we rotated through every forward in that 7 minutes. At least it was about 1.5 times we went through our lines, and so it certainly wasn't a situation where we were trying to run it up. We were trying to score a goal, but everyone did get a chance to get out there, and it wasn't our A unit, our B unit. It was everyone was getting out there, and again, 7 minutes is a long time to keep Evgeny Malkin off the ice when there's a power play, and it was a situation in the game where it was an emotional game, and we weren't done being emotional yet. So
I would like to ask you something you probably get asked all the time in Pittsburgh, but we've got an audience all over North America. What is wrong with his power play? 28th overall going to the game on Saturday. He did get a couple of goals on the power play Saturday, went 2 for 7. But with all that skill, is there anything you can pinpoint that might be the struggle?
I think initially when I would give a power play presentation, I would say there's some key components you have to have a good power play. And it can't start without a breakout, an entry, and a retrieval of a puck. If you don't have those things, you're not going to have a very good power play. You need to do those 3 things to get the zone time, and zone time to get chances and second chances. And when you can get 4 second chances in a game, if you have 5 power plays, you're going to get a goal or 2. But if you don't have the breakout, the entry, and the retrieval of the puck to get set up, you're just going to struggle, and frustration levels go up, and you have to go back for a puck, and you go back for 2 or 3 in a penalty kill, you start to get frustrated. And largely that's where our problems have come from, is we haven't done a good job of going back for pucks and entering together and executing and getting that set up. And when you look at our power plays, we're very good in the first period. We're like above 25%, almost 30% in the first period on our first power play. But if we don't, and the frustration level starts to get up, that's when we've been not as successful, and that's something we continually try to work on and need to get better on. And we've been good the last few games, and it's because of the breakout and the entry and the setup.
I got another question for Ray.